This is the funnel that my company uses to generate millions of dollars in top-line revenue per month, but it's also the same exact funnel that we've used for our clients to generate hundreds of millions of dollars of enterprise value. And if you've ever considered selling something online, I strongly recommend you use this exact structure because it's going to convert basically out the gate on day one. Now, it's called a funnel because it takes large amounts of views or leads through multiple stages of filters, removes the lower quality leads, and then drives the high quality ones to an eventual conversion event at the very bottom. Now, most client acquisition processes or funnels have one of two issues. There's not enough leads, so simply getting more leads would fix the business, or an issue converting the leads. So converting more leads would fix the business. Now, my company specializes in getting leads through social media, but converting those leads is what this funnel is all about. And after working directly with hundreds of businesses, I realized one of the biggest reasons more companies don't have this figured out is that there's almost no resources online about this stuff, at least not at the multiple $million per month level. So that is what this video covers. So if you have an existing funnel that isn't bringing you enough sales despite having some leads, or if you're scaling past 100,000 a month and you need to optimize, or your cost per lead is too high and your lead quality is too low, I will walk you through our funnel in the exact order our clients experience it, so you can just copy it. And even better, I'll show you the specific decisions we made and why we made them. So instead of just copying us, you can understand how to interpret the data and how that can apply to your business and create something that is truly custom for your business and therefore far more effective than any cookie cutter solution ever will be. If you're working with our team, we'll build this out for you, but you should understand how and why we do this stuff so that you can make the most of it. And so here is the high level flow for how we take leads from traffic to sales call. So we start with that traffic source, whether it's organic or paid. Then we go to the application page, which is a direct offer. There's no opt-in requiring you to actually see the page. It loads as soon as you click in. There's an application element, which includes friction or routing. There's the booking page that comes after that, which allows you to select a time on the calendar. There's a pre-call page. Once you've selected the time on the calendar, this pre-call page sets expectations for that call. Then there's a pre-call sequence that happens through a function of multiple different automations. It's reminders as well as qualification processes before the call. And then we have economics of calendar availability, which really influences who gets on the sales call, which is the very last step. The discovery and close happens on the sales call, and that's when you actually make the sale. So starting with the traffic source, we have multiple different funnels for different types of traffic sources, so we can track lead quality and quantity coming from each. For example, we have identical funnels built out separately for Meta ads, one for Google ads, one for Instagram organic, one for YouTube organic, one for email conversions. And it's really important to track all of these separately because for every traffic source, we have different metrics. For example, organic leads that come to us through my Instagram organic or my YouTube, they convert 3 times better than traffic from paid ads. And so if you blend the organic and paid into one funnel, you can't tell which traffic source is driving revenue for your business. You can't tell which leads are more qualified than others, and so you're going to make bad strategic decisions. We actually did this in our first few months scaling this business. And at the time, I thought more leads would mean more sales. But it turns out 60% of our revenue at the time was coming from organic traffic. So when I doubled our ad spend, and then I doubled it again, from 50 to over 500,000 per month, and we scaled it really quickly. All it did was put us in a ton of debt because we weren't making sales from that cold traffic. We were doing $700,000 a month top line at the time, and within 3 months, I was almost personally, completely bankrupt. Fun fact, track the source of your leads. And worst case, like bare minimum, at least have one funnel for organic and one funnel from paid, because if your organic and your paid are working, you need to keep them separate. Now, the very first page is the application page. Once someone clicks through, either from an ad or from organic content, they land on our application page. And this page is made of just a couple of parts. Starting right at the top, we've got the brand name, so they know what page this is. Got a quick little plug showing our reputation. And then we've got a headline. Sometimes a video, depending on the page, a button to apply, and then the actual application, which is what the whole page is about. And then a little further down here is some case studies, some testimonials for people who are a little bit more skeptical or want more information on what we actually do. That's it. There's no complex layout, and it's ideally not a million different words on the screen that no one reads anyways. We've tested hundreds of iterations of this. We've put millions of dollars behind this page testing with ads. This is what works best for our B2B audience. What works for your audience might be different. But just to prove to you that this works for B2B audiences, I wanted to show you a couple other pages that also make millions of dollars per month and have come to the same optimized page structure. The first is Alex Hormozi's page promoting his workshops. He's got the big headline, he's got the video right down here, and then he's got a button that goes to the application, and they're asking for information there. Next, Contrarian Thinking by Cody Sanchez. You've got the brand name, you've got the headline, few words here, but not too many. You've got the video that they can choose to watch, and then you've got a button to book your call, which brings you to the application. And then Hyros, they've got an even simplified version of this, a very quick headline, book a 5-minute prove it demo, collecting information right down here, and then they've got a few testimonials down there, and of course the logo so that you know what page you're on. Now this headline on all of these websites is the most important piece of copywriting in the entire business. Because when people land on this page, they need to know exactly what they get from working with you. This is your entire offer condensed into just 1 or 2 lines. So we, for example, offer multiple services. We do staffing, we do team development, advisory services, one-on-one delivery, we do some group stuff, we do educational material, AI software, media buying, video, graphics, all the stuff. But for the headline, we're only focusing on the one thing that sells the best right now, getting all your content done quickly. Or we have another one that we're split testing, 1 million views or you don't pay. Very short. And this spot on your website should have the most important line of text in your entire business. What can you say in as few words as possible that will convince people to work with you? Next on this page, we have the VSL, the video sales letter. It's not always necessary. We currently run traffic to pages with and without a VSL. And if you run a business with clear deliverables like landscaping or cosmetic medical services, the results that you've gotten for clients, like a before and after, is going to communicate way more value than you can on video. So you can feel free to skip this step. But there are some industries in which it makes sense to test a video sales letter, such as coaching or consulting or marketing or video production, where the person on camera has to first build trust with the audience for their coaching or their expertise to be valuable. And so I would always test without a VSL before adding a VSL, just because making a VSL and actually executing well enough for them to be worth the effort is really difficult. Now within the VSL, there is actually a structure to it. Ideally in the first 15 seconds, you explain what you do and why people benefit from it. You want to make this very much for the benefit of the person watching the video. In the next 15 seconds, you want to explain why this is better or different than what they've tried before, because they've probably heard a similar sales pitch in the past and you need to be able to differentiate yourself. The next 15 seconds you use to provide proof or client testimonials or case studies, some kind of evidence that what you do actually works. The next 15 seconds, remind them what they get and give a clear CTA to do the next step. And then the rest of the VSL, another 3, 5, 10 minutes, are just the most important parts that you want your prospects to hear based on what they respond best to on sales calls. All of the words or examples or word tracks that you use on sales calls that get great responses from your prospects, that will tell you what your prospects are looking for. Just include them here in the video word for word. Make sure you can use the best parts about what you do and how you sell it, specifically as it's recognized by your audience in that video. Now for length of the VSL, we've tested multiple lengths. When coming from social media, usually around the 2.5 to 3 minute mark is where most people stop watching. Their attention span starts to falter. So we've condensed all the critical information into that window. And then we've added another 2 minutes on top of that for the more skeptical or curious prospects, going through the highlights of our offer, the best parts, the things from thousands of sales calls that we get the most responses from prospects, like addressing common objections, so on budget and authority and needs and timing, reinforcing value as to like why they should actually do this or why it's so important, and then also comparing our solution to others. And we always wrap the video up. The very last thing we say on the VSL is one last call to action for what you want them to do next. For example, to complete the application below the video sales letter. Now, if you want to test a VSL, I made a GPT agent based on all of these best practices that'll help you write one yourself. It's linked down below. It comes with a little instruction. It'll walk you through it, super easy. But then we have the application itself, and then the whole rest of the page is just testimonials and proof that we can deliver on what we do. And we found through testing that no amount of proof beats promise. Like no crazy guarantees beat hundreds of testimonials that you can flood your potential clients with. We've tested very bold guarantees and promises on the front end, but testimonials almost always convert better. And if you don't have testimonials yet, first, why would you sell something that you don't have proof works? But second, you probably do have proof that it works. Like, let's be real. Sometimes at the start, the proof is your own result, your own testimonial, what you were able to accomplish for yourself or maybe at another company. And you should spend the time it takes to organize that proof into one easy place like this for potential clients to come and just understand which will make it easier for them to give you money. Now, getting into the actual application, once someone clicks see if you qualify, they get pushed to this part of the page. When designing the application, we pay attention to two things. One is friction and one is routing. So first, the friction. The amount of friction either increases or decreases lead cost by making it harder or easier for someone to apply. For example, we ask their monthly revenue in their business. This adds friction. You are making them disclose personal information. Some people won't do it. So your lead cost is going to get significantly more expensive just by adding this question. But the people that do disclose their income are probably less skeptical and distrusting, more open to discussing personal information like income, which makes it easier to sell them. So asking that question will probably increase the quality of your leads despite making them more expensive. That is friction. And the second thing is routing. So routing allows you to give your best leads special treatment based on how they answer. For example, from our application, people that are making under $10,000 a month are routed to free training. Like, we just don't have a product for them at this time. Totally understand. Here's free material to help you out. People with 10 to 50K a month in income are lower quality leads that are routed to specific sales reps that have more time to dedicate to each one. 50K plus in income, that's around $1 million a year top line. Those are higher quality leads, generally routed to our most experienced sales reps to have higher level business conversations. And 250K plus leads, so those are the highest quality, flagged by our system accordingly and treated very specially. Now, every single answer that they submit here sends them to a different page after they click book. And each page has a different tracking pixel installed. And this is very important for pixel optimization. The goal, if you're running Facebook ads, and specifically Facebook ads tracking pixel, as well as most other advertisers pixel, is to give you the cheapest qualified leads possible. And the problem is the Venn diagram between the cheapest leads and the worst leads has massive overlap. It is like a circle. And the highest quality leads are often the most expensive. So the advertisers aren't incentivized to give you the highest quality leads. They're incentivized to give you the cheapest ones. And so by adding friction and by adding routing, we can control what Facebook recognizes as a positive result. As positive feedback, we can control what we tell Facebook to get more of. We want to tell Facebook to only get people like this when they're rich, when they're qualified, when they want to start right now. For our example, we're always changing and messing around with our lead routing and lead friction depending on marketing costs and our sales team availability. But right now, we only take on calls if they make a certain amount of revenue, if they demonstrate a certain amount of marketing ability in the last 30 days to spend, have a high enough client average lifetime value, which at the higher end often reflects higher level service-based businesses, and businesses that are ready to start on social media right now, as opposed to ones that are kind of just price shopping and looking around. And a visual analogy for this, if you imagine Facebook is just throwing darts blindly without any friction or routing, every single time a dart connects with something, Facebook is going to think it did a good thing. But with friction and routing, you can put up a dartboard and say, only give me leads that hit this dartboard, that they're rich and they're qualified. Or even better, say, only give me leads that hit this bullseye, which is my perfect type of client. But you can only do that when you have friction and routing. So if your leads are either too expensive or too low quality, those are the two levers you can pull. Friction to add or remove qualifying questions, or routing, sending different leads to different pages so that you only give pixel data from the positive results. You should test both, track the data, and adjust as needed, as always. Now, after someone submits their application, they get routed to a booking page where they can select a time for their call. We always book 2 to 7 days in advance, sometimes 8 or 9, never multiple weeks out in advance, because if people book out multiple weeks out in advance, the show rates drop dramatically for our type of prospects. They lose interest in what we do, or they don't even show up to the call altogether. And if you're selling to consumers and not organized business owners like we do, you could expect that window to be even shorter. So it might only be a couple of days. Or in home service, for example, you will make way more money if you can take calls same day, or ideally within the same hour that the prospect requires. If you've got someone calling you because their boiler broke down, they're probably not going to want a call back in 7 days, because after a couple hours, they would have called someone else to fix the issue, and your revenue per inbound lead is going to drop. Now, once they select their time and book in, they enter a very robust email and SMS sequence. Honestly, it's absurd. I'm not going to bother you with the whole thing. Our tech person spent months building this out. There are over 100 automations for all kinds of unique sequences and triggers. Not all of that is necessary if you're just starting out, but after getting to millions of dollars in monthly revenue. We have had plenty of time and resources dedicated to making this very comprehensive. If you're just starting out, something simple will work. If you're working with us, don't worry, we'll set this up for you based on what you need. Don't try to build it out yourself. It's not worth the time. But if we aren't setting this up for you, here's what loosely works, so you can just take the best parts and copy that. Immediately after booking a call, within 5 minutes, they should get a confirmation email with a link to that call so they can actually attend it, and an intro text from the sales rep saying, hey, this is me. I'm the person you're going to be talking to. Quick question for you. And the question is to qualify them. Ideally, you would also have an introductory call with an assistant. So this can be an appointment setter, a receptionist that confirms the call was booked at the right time and gathers even more information about the business. So the sales rep can show up very prepared to the sales call with tons of material prepped. And then after that instant contact, we have a few other sequences for automations. We have 24 hours before the call, an email reminder with the link, 3 hours before the call, a text reminder with a link from the salesperson, 1 hour before the call, an email reminder with the link again, and then 30 minutes before, one final text with the link. An important note here is we alternate between phone and email and text to reach every single prospect with their preferred communication. So no matter what that communication style they prefer is, we've reached out with it. And we send all of these reminders not just to remind people, but also to internally measure how good and qualified of a lead they are, because the best leads give us the most attention. And just some data from a few hundred closes, people who don't open an email or don't respond to a text, they're completely cold, they only have a 3% chance of showing up and being qualified for the sale. People who don't respond to text but don't open email, 16%. People who open email but don't respond to text, 14%. And then the people who open the email with the link to attend the call and respond to the text from the sales rep getting more information have a 42% chance to show up and be qualified. This is one way we measure how hot a lead is before we even talk to them. And we move those less qualified leads from a good sales rep's calendar to a less experienced sales rep's calendar so they can really work that lead and make sure they show up and make sure that they are qualified, or even to an assistant to take and pre-qualify that lead before rebooking them to an actual person if they are qualified. This way, my best sales reps only spend time talking to the most qualified prospects. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to get our best sales reps the most amount of the most qualified leads possible every single day and squeeze as much efficiency out of them as possible. Now, is this pre-call sequence overkill? Maybe. If you're scheduling everyone one day out in advance and hit them with 6 reminders, it's possible. We've tested dozens of variations of this though, and this is what maximized show rate without being annoying to the point where we lost revenue. So as soon as a prospect seems legit and confirms the call, we also take a back seat and we become a little bit more passive with the reminders. But until that prospect confirms and until we are confident that they will show up and be qualified, we are very prompt about getting a hold of them. Because if we can't get a hold of that lead, we're going to cancel the call. We're going to have to give that hour of my sales rep's time to a more qualified or at least a more responsive prospect. And now your audience might be different. Especially if you're B2C, you might need to bug them a little bit more. You might need to respond quicker. And it's just the frequency and style that we've found works best for our business with our cold audience, specifically serving a B2B market, responding to an ad that they saw online. If your audience or demographic is different, test and track your own numbers as always. This is just what works for us. And then all of this process leads down to a sales call, which is where the conversion actually happens. This funnel is not fancy. The VSL isn't highly produced. It's not like a corporate training video, but it works. And it actually potentially works better for our market because of how it's done. We've put tens of millions of dollars in ads testing it. We could have spent $100,000 doing the video. We've tested hundreds of variations, but simple sells surprisingly well. And so that's what we keep doing. I have multiple friends doing 10 million a month top line with their landing pages, even more simple than ours. It's literally a blank white page in a video. It's surprising. And I think the lesson that I want more people to take away from here is that it's not the fanciest page that wins. It's the one that converts the best. And if you haven't had millions of dollars in top line revenue experience with landing pages, I recommend you at least give this a try. If you want to disagree with our best practices, be my guest. Your hunch may work better for your industry, but I encourage you, please save yourself some money and at least test a couple of variations. And I think this one in particular is very much worth your time. And after testing, just let the data decide. And if you like this video, this next video is actually probably going to be a lot more helpful because it'll actually show you how to convert those people once you've got them on a call with you, which is the whole point of this thing anyways.